Welcome back to the Art of Boat Building as Bob gets back to working on the Haven after finishing up Arabella's tender. In this episode, Bob is finishing and fitting some of the boat's bronze parts. As always, your subscription and loyal viewing of the channel is appreciated. And special thanks to Patreon members. Your financial support makes it possible for Bob to continue producing these videos for you.
Well, as you can see, I've got lots of unfinished bronze pieces to finish up and get assembled onto the boat. So I decided I would start with the aft end, starting with the combing clips. So what I'm doing here is finishing the attachment of the port side combing clip, like so. So what I'm going to do now is to show you how I finished the bronze and got it fitted for the starboard side. So here is the starboard combing clip. Now you may remember from some earlier episodes that I cast this from a 3D printed pattern, and I did what was called a lost PLA process, which is very similar to a lost wax process, where the actual pattern gets melted out of the mold and then it gets replaced with bronze. Now you can even see the texture of the 3D printing in there. It's very, this process really picks up a lot of detail. You can even see along here where the printing can be seen. You can't feel it at all, it's perfectly smooth. Now, one of the first things I need to do is to square it up and get rid of these parts here. This is where the vents and gates entered the piece to be cast. So I'll need to trim this off and trim these off. And then once I get that done, I can start to smooth the inside. And then we're going to check the plans on where the holes get drilled in here. Well, we've got the clip all cleaned up. I can take it over to the plans and determine where I need to drill those holes. So over here at the plans, we can see where Joel White has drawn out full scale what the combing clip should look like. So you can see that the profile here that I have is that profile. Now what he calls for here are 4 1032 machine screws along this face that goes through the combing and into the combing clip. And then on the transom side, he's got 4 3/4 inch number 8 wood screws that would go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine the location of that screw by measuring from the edge over, which in this case is 7/16. So if I take my piece here, I go over 7/16, like so, and then draw a line. That's really straight. So basically what I'm going to do then is to take this distance, which is 4 inches. I'm going to come over a 1/2 inch for the first hole, and then I'm going to make them every 1 inch, like so. So then I've got 4 holes. Now on this side, it is 3/8. So I'll do the same thing on this face here. So I'm going to get these all marked out, and then we'll get ready to drill them. Now what I did here is I cut a little block of wood that's the same angle as this clip. That way when I put it in the vise here, that still remains perfectly perpendicular to the drill bit. And then I have a little piece of leather here so that the jaws won't mar up the bronze. I'll put the proper tap in here. And don't worry, I'm not going to turn the drill press on. I'm just going to use it so that I have a nice, that I'm going in perfectly straight, which is one of the biggest challenges of tapping a hole, is getting it started straight. So we'll just turn it by hand. I've got the combing clip all machined out now. Now I changed the design just a little bit. Now some of you might remember that I changed the design of the combing, and in doing so it moved this clip in a different position. So what I did was I countersunk these bottom 2 holes on the clip that'll go against the combing to receive wood screws. And the reason for that is when I put the clip here where it belongs, you can see this hole is actually lower than the cover board here. So there isn't any way that I can get a machine screw to go in there down below this. So that's what I did, is I decided I would put a couple of wood screws at that point, and then the rest of these 2 I'll use the machine screws. So the next step is I'm going to go along and put a couple of screws in here to hold it in place so I can line up those machine screws. I like the clip positioned where I want it. Now I'm going to use one of these centering bits that are designed to go into countersunk holes and find the center. I began finishing the clip in situ so that the machine screws would finish the same. Starting with 220 grit, I then moved to 320 grit, then to 400 grit, then to 600 grit, and finishing with 800 grit. I then completed the surface with a little polishing compound. Well, now that I've got the combing clips all installed and polished up, the next fitting is for the boom crutch. And the boom crutch is a socket that is made out of bronze like this, and it sits somewhere about right here. Now, what this does is it holds a crutch that goes in there that holds the boom when it's being moored. So the first step I need to do is finish cleaning up this bronze and then drilling 4 holes in there. Now that I've got the boom crutch socket all polished up and machined, we need to determine where it needs to be located. And we'll do that looking over at the plans. Now, if we look over here at the construction plans, we can see where the boom crutch socket has been located. So this is an 1.5 inch to 1 foot scale. So if I go from the center of the boom crutch to where the deck meets the transom, it looks like we are 6 inches to the center that way, and then from the center line down, it looks like we are 5 inches. So that's how we're going to locate where that belongs. Now you can also see in here, it also has a drawing of what the boom crutch is to be constructed like. Now, one of the things that the plan does not show is an actual drawing of what the boom crutch socket should look like. So fortunately, during one of my late night nerding out over boat plans sessions on the internet, I came across MIT's website, which is where all of Herreshoff's drawings are housed. And I found a blueprint of the castings for the 12.5. So it was from those drawings that I was able to determine what size that boom crutch socket needed to be. So let's get it located. I've laid this level out where the center line is. So the first thing is to come over 5 inches, and then from the transom meets the deck, 6 inches. So that's our center. You can take this square to square that up. Now the hole that I need to cut in here needs to be 1 inch wide this way and 1 5/8 inches that way. And the boom crutch goes in this orientation. So I go over. Okay. So I'm going to mark that out. and then we'll cut that out. So the next thing you need to turn my attention to are the bow chucks. Now I've taken one already and cleaned it up pretty well and got it pretty well fitted. Getting this angle right here was pretty critical. So I think I pretty well accomplished it. Now it will get, this toe rail will get cut off right here, so this will sit down flush on the deck. So what I need to do is to do the starboard side the same way I did the port here. And you can see I haven't done really anything to it. It still needs to have a lot of the grinding and cleaning up. So I'm going to do that next, and then I'm going to show you how I get this angle on here. I then did some hand finishing, starting with 80 grit and working up to 400. I've got both bow chucks now cleaned up and sanded down to a 400 grit sandpaper. So I had mentioned earlier how I had already fit this port side one on here like so. Now how I originally got that was I took a piece of wood and played around with it until I got that angle. So that's how I determined that initial angle for that bow chuck. So in theory, this should just be a mirrored image of the starboard side should be a mirrored image of the port side. So one of the ways to do that is simply to line them up like so, and then take my pencil over here and mark this angle like that, and then do the top side the same way. Get it lined up. So now you can see I've got, these should be my finish lines on there. So I'm going to take it over the grinder and I'll show you how I've got that set up. So over here at this, the disc grinder here, and this is the first angle that I want to be concerned with, which is on the top. So what I'm going to do is line that up by eye so that this line is parallel to the grinding surface there. And then I'm just going to make a reference mark here on my plate, like so. So the next angle then is this angle here, and what I need to do there is to move the table. So and do the same thing, is to line that up so that it's pretty close to parallel to the face of the grinding surface there. I think we're about right there. Now as I grind it, I will watch and see how close I am and then make adjustments if I need to. I'm pretty happy with that fit. Looks good. So I'm going to clean up this little burr that's on here, and we'll move to getting these tow rails fitted. I've got both of the tow rails trimmed off so that they fit in there nicely now. I'm going to sort of relieve the edges of these a little bit so that they match the profile of the tow rails, and then drill the appropriate holes in them so we can get them mounted. The plans show that the way these are anchored is with a rivet in the front and a screw in the back. I've got my drill press set up here on an angle so that the face of the chalk that fits against the stem is perfectly squared up at 90 degrees on both directions to the drill bit. So I'll drill that hole first from this direction, and then I'll use this chalk to align the hole through the stem and into the starboard chalk. So after I got all the holes drilled and fitted, I took it over to the buffing station and buffed it up and got a little polish on it. So I'm going to bed these with dolphinite. I put some tape here just so I don't get dolphinite everywhere. Well, that certainly completes the bow of the boat. I'm pretty happy with it, the way it came out. So that's about all we have time for in this episode. So as always, thanks for watching, and remember, if you're going to make it,